All right, all right. Welcome everyone to the El Toro La Liga show. Today, obviously, going to be talking about game week 16 in La Liga, and obviously, lots of games happening this weekend, and obviously, a lot of European midweek games that happened, which could affect how teams are doing with the winter break that is coming just after game week 17. But this is game week 16, so just a game week before. But yeah, before we get started, please do hit the like button on the stream, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Obviously, maybe I can someday reach 1,000 subscribers. Maybe, who knows? Maybe before the season ends, who knows? But yeah, as always, please do hit the like button, and we might as well get started. Lots to get into, so let's go with the first game, which is happening in about an hour from now, and that is Real Sociedad taking on Girona. Now, obviously, both of these sides in a little bit of a little predicament so far this season. Look, you're only 15 games in. I think almost everyone, apart from the Supercopa teams that have played 15 games, those four are getting 16. But Real Sociedad 56% to win, 25% for draw, and 19% for Girona win. Now, obviously, this game is happening in just about an hour from now. Sociedad back-to-back losses, just been a little bit inconsistent after having such a pretty good middle part from October, November when they won the Basque Derby, but now obviously they lost back-to-back games, so not been good by their standard. But obviously, I don't think by the end they'll be in the relegation zone. I'll be honest. But they are only 4 points ahead of Girona, who are in the relegation zone and lost the last game. So both teams lost this previous weekend. But if I'm going to be honest, look, Real Sociedad are playing at home. I think they have the advantage over Girona here. I just think that they might come back into form. Real Sociedad, maybe not enough ultimately in the end to get into the European places. But actually, in terms of a prediction, I'll probably go with a 2-0. I'll go 2-0 Real Sociedad. I think they'll finally come back into form in terms of winning. So that'll be my prediction. 2-0 Real Sociedad. Next up, we have here is Atletico Madrid against Valencia in La Liga. Now, obviously, big up to the chat, big up to Deontay as well. But yeah, damn. Atletico Madrid versus Valencia. Both these teams have very contrasting form as of recent. Atleti obviously won in midweek in the Champions League, and I believe they also won the previous game as well. Whereas Valencia, just really substandard by how I see them. 75% Atleti to win, 16% for a draw, and only 9% for Valencia win. I know Atleti has one of the best records against Valencia, almost over the past 10 years, and especially at home. Where, look, Atleti, actually, I just realized they lost back-to-back games, that being Barcelona like 10 days ago, and I forgot who that other team was. Jeez, I have really bad memory. But obviously they did bounce back in the Champions League. But they were really, really easy to open. But Atleti at the moment in I wouldn't say the worst possible position, but it is a position whereby they have to at least win this game against Valencia, which they do have a good record, because obviously Espanyol, as you can tell by the title, are probably the team that's going to chase Atleti and Villarreal. It seems like it's going to be those two that might eventually drop off. And I'll talk about Villarreal very soon. Um, but Atleti, they do need to win this game against Valencia. And as for Valencia, they also have to win this game. They're only, 3 points above the relegation zone. Just not been that good. But look, they've been unbeaten in the league for the past 4 games. But look, it's only one win in that 4 game unbeaten run. So just not really good. And I just think overall, I do think Atletico will get will go back to winning ways in La Liga. So in terms of a prediction, I'm actually going with another two. I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1. I think maybe Valencia can score, but I just think Atleti will be too much. So I'm going for Atletico Madrid to win 2-1 and get themselves back in at least holding that fourth place pretty decently, you could say. But yeah, the next game we do have is Mallorca against Elche, and obviously, this is probably a game I'm going to have my eye on because obviously Mallorca have drawn Deportivo La Coruña in the Copa del Rey. We play them this coming Tuesday. We are hosting, but unfortunately, I cannot go to the game in La Coruña, unfortunately. But hopefully we beat Mallorca. So this is sort of like the game before the game for me, because obviously it's the round of 32. Soon will be round 16 if Deportivo will make it 4. But regardless, Mallorca, they are hosting Elche, and Elche have been in I wouldn't say decent form, but they did win their previous game. In terms of win probability, 39% Mallorca win, 31% draw, and 30% Elche win. Elche, had a really poor, they had a good start to the season. Then the middle part of the season, like November and all, early December and all that, not been good. But they did win the previous game. So it's a bit of a up and down season for them. Meanwhile, Mallorca, look, it's a similar story to Valencia, whereby like they could do something. They could improve Mallorca. They are in danger, I feel like, this season of getting relegated. Well, I say as much as like Valencia or Osasuna, probably not. But look, Mallorca are in a precarious position. Back-to-back draws hasn't really helped them. But obviously, if you want to have some confidence heading into that, both of them, to head into their Copa del Rey games this coming midweek, they have to get the result here. And result they may get, which I'm actually going for a Mallorca win. I'm actually going with just a 1-0 scoreline for Mallorca. I think they will just have enough in the end to get the result this time around against a pretty decent side like Elche. And next up, obviously here is Barcelona against Osasuna. And both of these sides, look, have been in very indifferent form. Barcelona, obviously, we know in the Champions League just beat Frankfurt. Meanwhile, Osasuna did win the previous game after having a pretty bad run of form, I would say. But the win probability, 80% Barcelona, 12% draw, and only 8% Osasuna win. It obviously, I'll be honest, it is a very difficult position that Osasuna are in. And if you look over here, Barcelona on 40 points, now top of La Liga. Probably ever since the El Clasico by the end of October, they've been on a very good run of form in La Liga. But Champions League, they've been very underwhelming. But just solely on La Liga, at the moment, if they do win this game against Osasuna, then they are going to end the year top of the league. Now, that doesn't really mean much by the end because obviously it matters who's on top by the end of the 38th game. But I'll be honest, they have looked really good in La Liga. Meanwhile, Osasuna, if you look down here, bottom 6, they were in and around that relegation zone. Yeah, they picked up the win the previous game, which has really helped their cause. But I will be honest, I just don't really see them picking up anything here against Barcelona, and they're not really as high scoring as they were like past few seasons. I just think Barcelona got this in the bag. Now, it would be a surprise if Barcelona drop points to Osasuna at home, but I just think that Barcelona's quality in attack as well is just better. I'll be honest. So I'm actually going with Barcelona to win here. I'm going 3-0 Barcelona. That would be my prediction for this game against Osasuna. Next up, we do have is over here another Catalan team playing against a Madrid-based team. That being Getafe against Espanyol. Now, obviously, as I said, Espanyol, from if you can see from the title, the away side in this game have picked up a very good run of form. I'll show you guys the league table, but they are with one game to spare, like one game extra over fourth place Atleti, and let's just say Atleti don't win, then that means Espanyol, in theory, could actually be above Atleti. So actually, Espanyol could actually be the surprise team that might be catching up to Atleti or Villarreal in the race for Champions League, because it seems almost, I feel like almost certainly that La Liga or Spain will not get the extra Champions League spot, the fifth spot that we did last season or this season. And that's probably mainly because of how, excuse the language, how shit Athletic Club and Villarreal have been in the Champions League. And to be honest, even just Barcelona and Real Madrid by their standards, and Atleti as well. So yeah, Espanyol are trying to take advantage this time around, whereas Getafe, yeah, they're just in and around there. And you can see 37% Getafe win, 33% draw, and 30% Espanyol win. And you can see right here, as I said, Espanyol 3 points ahead of Real Betis and only 4 points behind Atletico, but with a game in hand, even after this game week. So look, they have the potential, Espanyol, to get themselves in the top four potentially by the end of the year, calendar year. And so it is going to be a very interesting seeing. Actually, to be honest, it could be very interesting if Espanyol finished the calendar year, Christmas time, being in the Champions League places. Obviously, most likely being above Atletico Madrid. Meanwhile, actually, I scroll down a little bit more. Getafe. I just got a message. Meanwhile, Getafe, yeah, they won a couple weeks ago, but they did lose their previous game in La Liga. I'll be honest, they've just had a very up and down type of form this season. I don't really think they'll get into Europe by the end of it. And yeah, I that's how I feel. I'll be honest, I do think Getafe maybe they'll get a point here. Maybe they'll get a point here against an informed Espanyol. So I'm actually going with this game to end 1-1 between these two. 1-1 draw between Getafe and Espanyol. The next game we have is, I don't know if you want to call it a relegation battle, but maybe it seems like it is. We do have here is Sevilla against Real Oviedo. Now, obviously, both these sides in a really bad form at the moment. But in terms of win probability, 50% Sevilla win, 28% for a draw, and only 22% Real Oviedo win. And as you can see, Sevilla on 13th place, only on 17 points. They're only, 5 points above the relegation zone, but Oviedo are one of the teams in the relegation zone, and Oviedo have not won since like October. So, look, but I will say Oviedo have been picking up at least like draws. They picked up one draw every other loss. But they aren't picking up wins. That's the thing, and they've only scored 7 goals. They've only scored, once again, 7 goals. Like it's crazy. Like I just think the quality up front for Oviedo is just not that good, um, especially if they're away from home against Sevilla, who want to maybe push themselves away from Oviedo and that relegation pact. So I'll be honest, I might go with a Sevilla win just because I just think that the firepower that Oviedo just don't really have at the moment is just not there. Maybe they can prove me wrong, but I'm going with Sevilla to win this game. I might go 2-0. I'll go 2-0 Sevilla to beat Oviedo um, in that one and continue the unfortunate winless run of Oviedo. Next up, a bit unfortunately for me because they won the previous game week as a Deportivo fan. That being Celta Vigo against Athletic Club. As I said, both these sides played in Europe. Both sides didn't win, but they did win in La Liga the previous weekend. Celta Vigo, as we know, defeated Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, and Athletic Club, I believe, actually beat Atletico Madrid, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, win probability 35% Celta Vigo win, 29% for a draw, and only 36% Athletic Club win. So actually, the away side has just very slight, but it's as close as it can be. Now, obviously, both sides seventh and eighth, seventh and 10th. Excuse me. But Athletic Club, I wouldn't say have picked up form, but their Champions League campaign has a lot to be desired. I just think that overall, it's just not been the most enthralling Champions League campaign from Athletic Club. They've only scored 4 goals in 6 Champions League games and back-to-back nil-nil draws. Yes, they got a point against PSG, which I actually kind of predicted that they would get something against PSG. But that's not really going to help because I do think ultimately in the end, Athletic Club will get eliminated from the Champions League by the end of this January, actually. Whereas Celta Vigo, uh, they got back-to-back losses in the Europa League, so they could still get eliminated. So I'm hoping that happens as well. But yeah, Celta Vigo, win loss, win loss, win loss. Nowadays for them, um, they used to be draw merchants, and now they don't draw. But I'll be honest, I could see this game being a draw. Actually, both teams have very similar form. Win, win, loss, loss, win, win, loss, loss, win, win. So, in terms of a prediction, I'm actually going with a draw. Will this be a boring draw? No. I'll go with another 1-1 in La Liga. 1-all draw between Celta Vigo and Athletic Club. 1-all is my prediction. Next up, if people don't really know about this is technically a derby, somewhat. Not really a big derby, but like it is kind of a derby. But yeah, big up to Deontay. Celta lost. Yeah, that's funny. They took the lead and then they lost. Yeah, I think Athletic Club. Yeah. That's who I remember. So actually, both the big Madrid teams lost to the opponents of the game we just talked about. So yeah, not good for both Madrid clubs, but you'll probably see what I say about Real Madrid in a bit. But yeah, next up we have is Levante, not Devante, Levante against Villarreal in La Liga. Now, I'll be honest. Um, Look, I have a lot to say about both teams. First, let's start with the home team. But actually, I'll go with win probability. 21% Levante win, 22% draw, 57% Villarreal win probability. Let me start with the home team because I'll talk about Villarreal in a bit. But Levante have had a horrendous season, terrible season. They're even below Oviedo. They've scored double the amount of goals Oviedo have scored, but Levante just keep on losing. And I'll be honest, I think both of them, Levante and Oviedo, go down. It's just about who that third team is. It might be Girona, it might be Mallorca. Hell, if it's fucking Valencia or Osasuna, that would be crazy. But I'll be honest, Levante's season has been terrible. Not been impressed with them, apart from maybe like 2, 3 games they've had, like that win away at Girona 4-0, I remember. but they haven't been picking up anything this season, Levante, and it's a bit. I wouldn't call it a disaster, a calamity, but it's been a disaster. They sacked the manager very recently, and it seems like the form will not be picking up at least by the end of the year. Maybe they can turn it around, and it seems like it's going to be another team from the Valencian community that will be around the bottom of the league, just like last season where it was Valencia, but now it's the rivals Levante in there. Um, yeah, I was just so uninspiring and unimpressive from Levante. Meanwhile, yeah, you could skip those their rivals Valencia, who I talked about having a pretty bad season. Villarreal, look, amazing season in La Liga, amazing season in La Liga. You know, five, six. I think they've now have six straight wins in La Liga. You think, oh my God, they're one of the best teams in the world. You know, with the form that they're in and everything. Villarreal in the Champions League are like what, third bottom, second bottom in the Champions League. They have not won a single game in the Champions League in six, and they had easy games. They lost to Copenhagen and Paphos, like what, back to back or and almost back to back. The Villarreal, oh God, they've been probably they are the reason why Spain or La Liga will not get that extra Champions League spot because they have been one of the worst teams in the Champions League. But thankfully, La Liga has more games than the Champions League, 30 more technically in the league phase. So look, Villarreal, you can see them doing well in this game, and then when the Champions League comes back in a little over a month from now, they're gonna lose. Like it doesn't matter. I think they're gone. I don't think they care about it anymore after they lost to Copenhagen like on Wednesday night or Wednesday evening technically. Um, yeah, Champions League just don't watch Real. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, in terms of this game, look, Villarreal are, you know, if they win the game in hand, they actually go second in La Liga, and we could have a potential top of the table clash next week when Villarreal play Barcelona, which was the Miami game, but it's back in Villarreal, so who knows? But in terms of a prediction, you know what? I'll go Villarreal to win just because they somehow always win in La Liga, but Champions League they're shit. So I'm going Villarreal to win this 3-1. I just think Levante have been atrocious, but Villarreal and La Liga have been amazing. Just don't talk about Champions League, about Villarreal. Terrible team in Champions League. Talking about Champions League and being quite terrible at the moment, we have Real Madrid. Yes, Real Madrid are away at Deportivo Alavés. Now, Real Madrid, back to back home games for the first time in almost a month because they didn't play a game at home from November 1st, I believe, till like the Celta Vigo game, which they lost. Then they played Man City on Wednesday night and lost as well. Now, people are saying, should Xabi Alonso be sacked? I'm like, wait, the dude from August to like El Clasico, that time period, everyone was saying Real Madrid's really good, really, really, really good, Real Madrid. And then they have a bump, a really bad run of form, November till right now, basically. And people are saying Real Madrid, they should sack Xabi Alonso. Oh, he's making mistakes, Xabi Alonso, and all that. Now, yes, of course, managers do make mistakes. I mean, Ancelotti made mistakes and still won the Champions League and La Liga as well. Now, can Real Madrid still win both? Of course, of course. Like the fact that people are counting them out as Champions League contenders or La Liga winners, contenders, whatever, is crazy. Because I just look, I do talk to Real Madrid fans because I live in Spain and like half of them have never been to the stadium or like watched the game there. But I will say this with Real Madrid: should they sack Xabi Alonso? My opinion, they shouldn't. What are my reasons? One, you saw what he was able to do from August to October. A very good run of form. He did deliver in a big game against Barcelona in El Clasico. Um, oh my God, I'm looking like I don't know my ball. But what I'm basically saying is that every single team, like Barcelona, at one point were doing a bit shit at around this time and ended up winning the league. Why can't Real Madrid be the same? And Real Madrid just as good enough quality as Barcelona to win the league. I think it might go to the final game of the season of Barcelona Real Madrid, which I think might actually happen by the end of it. Who knows? But I'll be honest, this season for Real Madrid might look like it might be unraveling, but to me to say that Xabi Alonso should be sacked, no. I'll give him until the end of January when the Champions League is finished. If Real Madrid are top 8 in the Champions League phase, keep him. Plus, if Real Madrid are in and around Barcelona or in and around first place or in first place in La Liga by the end of January, I'd be like, perfect, perfect, perfect. Keep him, keep him, keep him. And it's not even banter. Keep him because who they what Arbeloa? Are you going to get Arbeloa? What's Arbeloa done? What he managed the Castilla team, the team in the Primera Ref in the third tier. You think he's going to be better? Yeah, I just don't think so. Look, I'll be honest. Anyone saying Xabi Alonso sacked, I'm like, just wait. Give him. This is the give him time moment. He is not on a slot. Okay. Also won the Bundesliga unbeaten. No one, not even Bayern Munich's greatest managers, have done that. Why? I'm not saying he's going. Well, he can't do the same here with Real Madrid, but why can't he? Do better. Do better. Um, and of course, managers will make mistakes. Um, but obviously, at the elite level, it's going to be tough. Now, is he under pressure? Of course, every single Real Madrid manager is under pressure. But with pressure comes opportunity. Now, if Real Madrid probably are not in the top 8 in the Champions League phase, like they're in the playoff, and then they are maybe a few points behind Barcelona or behind the teams in first, or somehow be third or fourth, then I'd be like, okay, that might be the time to sack Xabi Alonso at the end of January. But at the moment, it is not the end of January. So I'll be like, keep him until the end of January, see how the results improve. If they do improve, keep him. If they don't improve, then sure. I'll give him the end of January. And also, La Liga, we have a 2-week break in between. And there's also the Super Copa. If he wins the Super Copa, are people going to say he should be sacked? Maybe actually. But look, this game away at Alavés, this is the game that they need to get the response. Now, Alavés, for themselves, have not been as good so far. 19% Alavés win, 24% for a draw, 57% for Real Madrid win. And as you can see, only one win in the last 5 games in La Liga, and actually one win in the last, actually 2 wins in the last 7, I believe, if you want to include the Champions League against Olympiacos, whereby it was literally Mbappe that did it. But they're only 4 points behind Barcelona. If Barcelona lose somehow to Osasuna and Real Madrid beat Alavés, then it's only 1 point difference. That's literally it. So I'll be honest, I do think overall Real Madrid will improve. Now, Alavés, they did get a win the previous game, but before that they lost 3 games in a row. But this will be a tough fixture. I think the main thing for Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid is just pick up the win, just get the win, and then go from there. Because obviously you have the Copa del Rey game in midweek, and then obviously you have the game just before the winter break. Just have that sort of confidence in you, and you'll be all right. So in terms of my prediction, And with all that I've said about Xabi Alonso, I do think maybe this time, Real Madrid will grind it out. I will go 2-1 Real Madrid. I'm not even what he calls being bum fucked by of Real Madrid. I'm not. I just think that it does take time for Real Madrid. Who knows? But I'm going 2-1 Real Madrid to finally maybe get the result that they need on Sunday night. And then they lose to, I believe it will be Talavera in the Copa del Rey. Probably. That'll be disastrous, I'll be honest. So yeah, 2-1 Real Madrid. And speaking of a team from Madrid, we do have, and that was actually one of my longest previews, is Rayo Vallecano against Real Betis. Now, here's my opinion on both. Both of them have done really well in Europe. I think both of them are in the top 8. Obviously, Rayo Vallecano actually have the Conference League phase finishing at the end of Thursday, this coming Thursday on the 18th. I know they are hosting Coops. I think I might be wrong. KUPS. I might be very wrong. I'm not sure. I don't really follow the Conference League. I just know they're in it, and I know they won against Jagiellonia Białystok away, which is a good result for them. Whereas Real Betis obviously did win in Europe, but they did lose 5-3 at home to Barcelona, one of the games you could say of the season. Now, win probability 37% Rayo Vallecano, 28% draw, and only 35% Real Betis win. If you scroll here, Real Betis, yeah, that loss to Barcelona has definitely hurt some sort of chance of them trying to catch Atleti, even though if they do win, there would be only 4 points if they win their game in hand, 4 points behind them. But obviously, you do want to get yourselves in a good position to get yourselves Betis at least next to Espanyol if Espanyol were to drop points. So that you could at least try to snatch 5th place if somehow Spain could get the extra spot, which I don't think will. Rayo Vallecano, in terms of La Liga, terrible. But obviously in the Conference League, they've been pretty decent. And with this game being played on a Monday and then they host again on Thursday, so they only have 3-game turnaround for the upcoming Conference League game. This game's not on a Sunday, it's on a Monday night. I don't know how much rotation there will be because I do think Rayo Vallecano have already progressed, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously, if they can secure top 8, that means that's 2 fewer games. And I'll be honest, Rayo Vallecano are not really going to be the team that will be getting Champions League football or even Europa League football. But if you can win the Conference League or even get the Conference League spot again, because you do have, a lot of time until February or even, heck, I think March. I'm pretty sure, right? If they finish top 8, if Rayo Vallecano finish in the top 8 of the Conference League, Rayo Vallecano don't have to play in the Conference League until March, if I'm not mistaken, because they don't need to play the playoff in February and there's no Conference League games in January, if I'm not mistaken. So, look, if Rayo Vallecano lose this game, I won't be surprised. Just because I feel like they will put out their stronger team in the Conference League game to secure that top 8. But I might be wrong. So with that being said, I do think Real Betis get the win here. I'll go 3-1 Real Betis to beat Rayo Vallecano. That'll be my prediction there. So, yeah. Now it is time for the El Toro de la Semana. Let me readjust. Which is obviously the best player of the week, the El Toro de la Semana. The best player of the week, the player with the biggest contribution of the week. Now I think there are like 3 candidates. One of them being Ferran Torres from Barcelona. The other one, Rafa Mir from Elche, 2 goals. Obviously, Ferran Torres got a hat-trick and the other one being Rio Swedberg of Celta Vigo, unfortunately. And for the first time, without my bias, without my bias, the El Toro de la Semana, the best player of the week, for the first time for their team this season, I'm actually going for who did you call this? I'm actually going for Rio Swedberg, even though Ferran Torres scored a hat trick. But yeah, to get 2 goals at the Bernabeu, and I think that was Celta Vigo's first win at the Bernabeu in like 20 years or something, 10, 20 years. So I have to give it to a Celta Vigo player, unfortunately. But yeah, and now it is time for the Segunda. Let me show you guys this. The Segunda. So obviously, game week 17 has finished, and we are coming closer and closer towards also the halfway point in the Segunda. Now, the first game we had, which was on Saturday actually, this past Saturday, was Almeria getting the win away at Andorra. So good win for Almeria. Valladolid 4, Huesca 1 in Huesca. Sociedad B losing to Sporting Gijon. Now, just look who's winning. So away team 1, away team 1, away team 1. Cadiz were 2-0 up, and then Racing Santander pulled up a remontada, a comeback. Another away win. Leganes Cordoba, boring ass game. Don't even bother watching highlights. Leonesa 2, I bought 1. Oh, Leonesa the away side. Which, when you think about it, 5, and then, yeah. Not good. Obviously, Castellon, probably the surprise of the season, along with Burgos and maybe Ceuta. But yeah, not good for Deport. Not probably not the best performance. And yeah, that's what the sixth away team that has won. Ceuta were away at Granada and got a result 1-0. Albacete, another away team, won, beating Burgos. So a huge win for Albacete. Las Palmas, Mirandes, apart from the red card, not really much in there. And actually, that Las Palmas result actually helped Depor a little bit. Malaga won, Zaragoza won, which means that actually this past weekend, no home team, including Deportivo, did not win. Not a single home team won in the Segunda. Like, when's the last time you ever saw an entire game week whereby the home team does not win any game? Name me one time that has happened in any league, because there should be at least one home team that wins. But in the Segunda this past weekend, no home team won. The best you can get is a draw. And I'll be honest, who was the best home team? When you think about it, it might actually just be Granada, because they scored a goal and didn't lose. That's how it was. That's how bad the home teams were, including Depor. So, yeah, obviously a lot to look at. In terms of the games for the upcoming or this weekend, is Leones and Huesca are playing right now. Just started about 8 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. Still no. Yeah, Cordoba playing Eibar tomorrow. Sporting Gijon against Granada. Valladolid taking on Andorra as well at the same time. This is a big one. This coming obviously tomorrow. Racing Santander hosts Leganes, and if they win, that will be a huge boost for Racing Santander to get themselves securing that top 2 or even first place. For Deportivo, we have to win this game against the B team of Real Sociedad. We just have to. We have to, especially heading into that Copa del Rey game on Tuesday. We have to have a good performance in both games, actually, and the game which we have in, what do you call this, next weekend as well. Zaragoza host Cadiz. Albacete host Malaga on Sunday. So lots of games tomorrow, actually, including on the Sundays, Almeria taking on Burgos, Ceuta taking on Las Palmas, and at the end, with both of them actually being eliminated from the Copa del Rey, I'm not mistaken, Castellon and Mirandes take on each other, with Castellon being the informed team, I'll be honest, in the Segunda. And the reason I'm saying that, not just because they beat Deportivo La Coruña, unfortunately, but when you look the top, this is the top six. This is the top six. You have, oh, just let me show you guys there. This is the top six in the Segunda. The top two get automatically promoted. The other teams in the playoff. So nearly the halfway point. Racing Santander have a 3-point lead against us, Deportivo, but we're both in the top two. But we are ahead of Almeria by goal difference. It seems like Almeria, Las Palmas, potentially Castellon, but I don't fully trust them yet. But yeah, I do think I will say it's not even the halfway point, but I will say that the top four, that being Santander, Depor, Almeria, and Las Palmas, at least one of us, gets promoted automatically by the end of the season. And I think all four of us will be minimum playoffs. I think I'll call it when it hits Christmas time. I'll maybe make a review of the Segunda. Meanwhile, Castellon and Burgos and Ceuta, I could scroll down showing you guys Ceuta. Ceuta, 5th, 6th, and 7th, they've been the surprise packages this season. They're in and around the playoff positions. Castellon on very good form at the moment. And then the other teams, rounding up the sort of bottom, the top half actually, or the bottom half of the top half. Valladolid, Sporting Gijon, Leonesa, and Cardiff. You can scroll down here. And then the teams lower down in the league, you have Cordoba, Albacete on 22 points, Malaga, Granada, and at the moment on 20 points, Huesca. And then you have Leganes, who probably been the disappointment so far of the season. I thought they would be getting themselves back into La Liga, or at least in the playoff contention. Still very early, but they've just not been that good. Only 4 wins in 17, just not good for the team that just got relegated last season. The Real Sociedad B, below them on 18 points. I do think they'll get relegated in the end. I'm not a big fan of reserve teams in there, but you know. And then obviously rounding up the bottom four. So these four teams at the bottom are the teams that will get relegated if they finish in the bottom four. Andorra, Eibar on 18 and 17 points respectively, and then Mirandes and Real Zaragoza both on 16 points. But both of those two at the bottom two are somehow quite in form at the moment, somehow as well. But yeah, look, it's been a very good show, and that was the Segunda. But yeah, obviously it's actually quite a bit of a longer show. Usually my shows last around 35 minutes for my El Toro La Liga show. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, this is being streamed on my channel. I hopefully on my X, Twitter, wherever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Obviously, big up to everyone that was in the chat or has watched at any point during the show of the El Toro La Liga show. Obviously, the show talking about La Liga and the Segunda, and obviously the Copa del Rey is happening. So I'll actually review the Copa del Rey games, the results. I'm not sure if they'll do the draw after it or it might be the week after. But yeah, with the final show happening next week, or at least for the calendar year, looking forward to it. But yeah, as I said, please do hit the like button on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And obviously, I will be back on Monday with La Piña Rosa with Charlie from Charlie G TV. And yeah, and with that, as I said, please do hit like and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, and hooray the lads, Newcastle will destroy Sunderland.